Well, that didn't go exactly as planned. Before I started the video, I expected to say this one is identical in every way to this one, except this one comes in a branded box and it costs $15 more. But to my surprise, there's actually a couple differences that matter. Let's run through them in terms of what I noticed just doing this unboxing video today to see if it helps inform you of which one you should pick up for your Joe Jr. Hey, I'm James from Smoking Dad Barbecue, and if you've been following my channel for a while, you know I'm already a huge fan of the charcoal basket, especially on the Kamado Joe Classic 3 or Big Joe 3 where it's included. What you may not know is this is the first accessory that I bought for my Joe Jr. or in the past my Mini Max Big Green Egg or my large Big Green Eggs. And there's a couple reasons I love the charcoal basket versus the standard cast iron grate that sits on the bottom of your firebox. And so a couple of those advantages are just improved airflow. So it's easier to hold and maintain temperature. It's quicker to come up to temperature, so you're not waiting as long to get your fire going. It's easier to clean up, so you can just take that basket, shake it, and any of the burned or small pieces will just fall through to the bottom, making it really easy to discard them. But perhaps the biggest use case, and the one that sold me, and the reason why it's the first thing I ordered before I got my Joe Jr. is it makes it something that you can take on the road. And so one of the advantages of a ceramic style barbecue is that they hold their heat really, really well. One of the disadvantages of a ceramic grill is that they hold their heat really, really well. And so if you've done something hot and fast, maybe searing a steak, and you close up your Joe Jr., it's going to take all day for that residual heat to escape out of the Joe and make it a safe temperature to touch for your hands or for putting inside your vehicle. This is where the charcoal basket makes a huge difference, because you're able to remove that, leave your Joe open, and it cools off in no time, so that you're able to transport that back home or wherever you may be going. And so I've always ordered from a company, a small business out of the US called Kick Ash Basket. They make a great product. I'm very happy with it in the Joe Jr. And from looks of the box, it looks identical to the one that Kamado Joe has now released, except this one is about 15 bucks cheaper. So which should you buy? Well, let's open it up, find out what the differences are, and help get you sorted out for which charcoal basket should you look at adding for your Kamado Joe Jr. Okay, so let's unbox our grill basket. In fact, I'll just pull out the Kick Ash basket one that I already have beside us so that we compare it in a minute. Take you fast forward while we open this up. Okay, so here's our brand new charcoal basket by Kamado Joe, side by side to the Kick Ash basket. And so I didn't know if I'd be able to tell the difference, but looking online, the measurements they claim from the top to the top here is 10.2 inches versus 10.8 for the Kick Ash basket. And while I didn't think I'd see a difference, I definitely this one looks like it may have a little bit more volume in it. The other thing that I can notice right away is the curved handles. This is actually something I didn't notice just looking at the picture that will be handy, because these do sit really tight against the firebox. So that's something we'll go ahead and test fit and see if that's actually as helpful as that looks, and how it interferes or doesn't interfere with any of our cooking grids. And then just looking at the bottom design, it does look like the stainless steel bars, just like the classic Series 3 or the Big Joe Series 3, are really nice and thick. If anything, I think they're a little bit thicker than the Kick Ash basket. But this basket is more than 2 years old and it is not disintegrating and falling apart. So I don't think there's a reliability concern at all with the Kick Ash basket versus the version from Kamado Joe. So that's what they look like up close. Definitely a difference in profile and shape. Let's get it inside the grill and see if we can tell a difference. All right, welcome to the inside of our Kamado Joe Jr. So let's just start by test fitting each basket. And so you'll notice I've already moved the charcoal fire grate that comes with the grill. You want to do that since this is where you're going to get the benefit of the airflow. So the Kick Ash basket sits down nice just like that. And you can see what I mentioned where the handles do sit just against the fire ring, but this is not a problem. I'm still able to get my hands in here and loop everything out. Let me now install the rest of the heat deflector plate so you can see how the kick ash basket fits in, and then we'll do the exact same thing with the Kamado Joe basket. Okay, so that's the kick ash basket fully installed. As you can tell, it's not hitting the heat deflector plate or the raised grid or the cooking grid in any way. So let's pull this out, we'll reset and try the same thing with Kamado Joe's version. Okay, let's drop in the Kamado Joe version. Already I can tell a difference in how that fits down in there. Maybe actually I'll do a side by side since I didn't notice that, but this does seem like it's sitting right on the bottom of the firebox really nicely, and we are just a bit below the line of our firebox and our fire ring, and these handles, while I could manage the other one, actually are definitely a little bit easier. Let me just swap out the other one real quick and see where we line up on that firebox. Okay, so that's where the difference is. I was wondering actually when I was looking at that. The two products are about the same height, but this is a wider base and it is sitting about an inch up. I don't know if that's coming through on camera, but it is sitting up on the fire box and then coming up the, whatever it is, 4.7 inches or something like that to the top of the ring. Whereas Kamado Joe's, which is made specifically for the Joe Jr. versus the kick ash basket one, which fits also the Akorn and a couple other small Kamados, I believe. It sits right on the kind of the perfect diameter of the firebox and allows it to sit a little bit lower. I don't know if that'll make any difference when we install the heat deflector plates. Let's go ahead and see if that interferes at all with our handles. Okay, just like the kick ash basket, absolutely nothing hitting or interfering with how that went together. I'll get that back out so we can see the basket. So that didn't go as expected. I had my talk track all lined up, which is how I'm normally a huge fan of Kamado Joe for innovating and including things, but the charcoal basket for the Joe Jr. is really neither of those. It's not a brand new innovation that's not existed in the market, or it's not something to my knowledge that's just included now with the grill, which if it is like the classic 3 or the Big Joe 3 is truly remarkable and amazing, and one of the reasons I love the Series 3 over the Series 1 and the Series 2. But this came out with a couple of advantages that I didn't expect over my plug for small business kick ash basket version, which is just handling that and dropping it down into the firebox. You can tell this was made specifically and only for the Kamado Joe Jr. versus small Kamados, where even just looking at the website for the kick ash basket, it lists, you know, the Akorn and some other small Kamados, and that's where you're sacrificing a little bit of that fit. Now, does this impact the cook? No, I've been using kick ash basket religiously for years. It's held up extremely well to every sort of fire that I can throw at it. And like I mentioned at the beginning, it is $15 less. So there is a ton of reasons to go ahead and feel comfortable about supporting the, you know, team small business here and kick ash basket version. But I have to say, I'm impressed with the difference that I didn't think would be there when looking at the box for the Kamado Joe version of the charcoal basket for the Joe Jr. And namely, that's that fit, which is getting us down right near the air opening. And so I think that will help, again, get our fire a little bit lower from our heat deflector plate. That may not look like much, but in the Joe Jr., where you're sacrificing you know, space for portability, that extra 3/4 of an inch difference is 3/4 of an inch either more charcoal that you can pile on top, or most importantly and most common is air. And so one of the challenges with the kick ash basket is that if you overfill it, your heat deflector plate is sitting right on top of the coals. And that is a surefire way to run into some trouble trying to build temperature or hold temperature. And immediately here, I think that extra 3/4 of an inch will not only help either make sure if we wanted to add more coal, if we were cooking direct, we could, or for indirect, it's going to give us that extra air gap buffer and potentially more total charcoal that we're able to hold, which I think is going to improve our low and slow cooking performance. I also think it's going to help just make it easier to set and maintain temperatures, again, where we don't have to worry about sitting right on top of that heat deflector plate. And perhaps most importantly, it's going to buy us just a little bit more space. Depth is everything, which will help make sure that we get even doneness on the bottom. And the closer you're sitting to that fire, even with the deflector plate, you're more likely to burn whatever you're cooking on the underside and struggle to crisp it up on the top side. And I think that's going to go a long ways to actually helping improve that. So like I mentioned earlier on, just starting with my own assumptions, I thought today was going to be a surefire win for the Kick-Ash basket, and I still think it is if you're supporting small business, and again, saving 15 bucks US. But I think Kamado Joe has done a stealthier little win here than I would have anticipated, especially looking at the fit, the handles, the improved airflow, and like the other baskets, again, they're rock solid construction. I know, just like for Kick-Ash basket is not an issue, it's going to hold up to the test of time with a lot of fires. I hope you really enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let YouTube know by smashing that thumbs up button, and let me know by hitting subscribe to catch future videos. Until next time, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue signing off, and remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.